Tonight on 60 Minutes.
There is a difference when you don't move that dirt. I've seen it.
I believe that long term, those systems are not sustainable.
Oh, the soil health is it. Yeah, everything else falls in place.
This is 60 Minutes.
Did you know that approximately 35% of cropland in the United States is no-till? An additional 25% using conservation tillage. Over 10 million acres of cover crops were seeded across the country in 2012. But here in California, it is believed that only 10% of cropland is no-till, and farmers have been much slower to adopt cover crops. Do cover crops and no-till work? What are the benefits? What are the costs? Why aren't more farmers incorporating these practices? To answer these questions, we sent our investigative team to find out more.
Tillage systems usually refer to the nature and sequence of tillage operations used in preparing a seedbed for planting by breaking up the soil with heavy machinery. Tilling fields has many benefits, including loosening compacted soils, aerating soils, and creating a seedbed. However, tillage creates problems as well, like soil erosion, increased equipment costs, loss of organic matter, and water holding capacity. No-till farming involves growing crops without disturbing the soil, which, over time, helps increase soil biodiversity, soil structure, soil carbon content, and water holding capacity.
Cover crop is a crop grown for the protection and enrichment of soil in an agro-ecosystem. It benefits the soil by protecting soil against erosion and the leaching of nutrients, increasing organic matter and soil friability, and controlling weed growth. We interviewed many farmers and agriculture specialists, and they seem to say the same thing. Using cover crops and switching to no-till farming system improves soil health and therefore increases yields, profitability, and makes farm system more sustainable.
Reduce the amount of tillage that you're typically doing, right? The number of passes or whatever. You add a cover crop, even if you are tilling it some, you're going to get soil benefit over time if you continue to do that. With soil, it's all about time.
Approximately, I know for sure I've read 1,000 times increase in microbial life from a live root in the ground to no root. In other words, I put a huge amount of biomass in the ground from crop residue, cover crops, and crop rotation, and compost. I'm putting 10 to 15 tons of biomass in the ground every year, okay? So we put an extreme amount in. The whole idea is building the soil, and the cover crops are a big deal for doing that. The other reason for cover crops is water retention. So you have a 120-day growing period on tomatoes, okay? I just shrunk my irrigations down to 40 to 50 days. And the rest of the time, I'm depending on what happened with the condition of the soil and its ability to hold water. And that's coming from a heavy program of cover crops, crop rotation, compost.
There is a difference when you don't move that dirt. I've seen it. There is a big difference. Them microbes, they don't want to be messed around. Just let them do their work.
Properly managed soils, even in California, can supply a good bit of what the crop needs. Nutrients. It'll hold water better. There's some evidence, and I don't know if you guys will get there, there's some evidence that functioning healthy soils that have active biological communities provide pest suppression. So they'll suppress soil-borne plant diseases. So there's a growing body of evidence to support that.
But when you look at the cost of tillage versus non-tillage, in and of itself, when you look at those reduced passes, you look at just think about the capital investment you have in all this heavy-duty equipment. When you're tilling soil, these aren't small tractors you're using. You're up into multiple horsepower. 150 horse, maybe I had 200-300 horsepower tractors, and that's a lot of fuel. That's a lot of investment. And it's upkeep. because the tillage equipment itself, the very nature of it wears itself out running through the ground. When you put iron in the ground, it's going to wear. And so all those things equaled more cost. And if you can avoid tillage, my gosh, here I am with all this equipment, and now here I am today. I have a corn planter. I have a small grain planter to plant this winter crop, and I have a sprayer. We took 30 tons of silage per acre off of it, no-till, and that's at 70% moisture, which is a normal correction factor, and it was a great crop, and you ought to seen the ears on it.
After answering our questions, Michael Kroll started digging on his hands and knees to find worms, proof that not tilling had improved his soil's health.
So why aren't more farmers using cover crops? And what is making it difficult for farmers to adopt cover cropping practices?
What are some of the challenges of transitioning to either no-till or cover cropping? Well, Scott Park still tills his fields because of weed pressure and since organic farm cannot use herbicides.
Michael Kroll told us that he has some difficulty with irrigation uniformity because before starting no-till, he didn't level his fields, and now he can't without destroying the soil structure he's taken years to build.
One objection that I often hear is if I leave all this residue on the soil surface, and most growers in California still surface irrigate. So in other words, they'll build furrows and they'll flood the furrows. Mm-hmm. So you get water movement, create dams, right? The water moves, bunches this stuff up, it inhibits the water movement for irrigation. Mm-hmm. I hear that a lot, and they say, what about that? Well, then if you start saying, well, you might need to change your irrigation system, oh man, right? Then all of a sudden you're talking lots of money, lots of trouble, steep learning curve, because they've irrigated that way all their life. And I think tradition is a lot of it. They're used to farming a certain way. Maybe the need for new equipment, right? If they stop tilling, then they'll need to change planters, right? They'll have to have a heavier planter that's designed to cut through and push down through all the residue, right, to get the seed in the ground. Well, that's an expense. So before long, and then I think a really big thing is they say, my system's okay. I'm happy with it.
The PLS 110A class at University of California, Davis spent 10 weeks collecting data on cover crops and tillage in the research field. The class has explored impacts of these issues in 6 experiment plots with 3 different cover crop mixtures provided by local seed companies. Each cover crop mixture was planted on 2 separate sides of the field, one that was tilled and one that has not been tilled. The group set up soil sensors in the field to take soil tension, temperature, and water content measurements, and they also conducted measurements of cover crop biomass weight and soil data weight.
Although the UC Davis study gathered lots of data on the different cover crop mixtures in till and no-till fields, there was no real statistical difference between them in biomass production, soil water content, or soil temperature. This could have been due to a limited sample size, not enough samplings, irrigation irregularities, and other factors. However, even if all of these factors could be controlled for, the experts all say that the key to developing healthy soils is time. 1 year of no-till farming is unlikely to show significant benefits, but if this study were continued for 5 or more years, we believe significant differences would appear between the no-till and tilled field.
Our investigation has taken us all around California and led us to many different people. At last, we have uncovered some answers. Why do California farmers use cover crops, and why do they still till their fields? The answer is complex, and there are many valid reasons that causes soil health. The evidence seems to be clear that no-till and cover crop have the potential to benefit a well-managed field. But farming is a lot more than research and data analysis. It's about people. People can be slow to change. But we know if farmers, researchers, and the community work together, we can confront many of these barriers and the future of California agriculture will be bright.